Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, your one-stop shop for exploring the connections between fitness, health, and overall well-being. Join us as we dive deep into all aspects of a balanced and vibrant life, from pushing your limits in the gym to finding peace of mind outside of it. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting your journey, you are in the right place to discover the knowledge and insight to perfect your fitness life.
All right, welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. And today we get to sit down with an individual who is trying to change the game of supplements, who has a passion for overall health and wellness, and is taking what is known from research and science and trying to change the game, and from an environmental standpoint to a health standpoint to the human standpoint when it comes to supplements. There's a big push to have supplements be the best quality. And a lot of times people don't realize that some supplements out there that are on the shelves, that are being promoted, are not the best, or they degrade by being on the shelves and the quality changes. So we sit down with Derek Alessi from Strength Genesis Supplements to dive into the world behind the walls of a supplement industry, to understand how supplements get formed, how supplements get delivered, how supplements are picked, and how the ingredients are chosen to make the best supplement on the line and to produce high quality foods and supplements that people can use, because we all know that this world that we live in is a fast-paced world, and sometimes it's hard to get eating super healthy, but we can use supplements for that. So honestly, before you guys reached out, or your PR, I've never heard of you guys before. So let's give me a little background of Strength Genesis. So most listeners probably have never heard of this supplement company. They've probably heard of the generic ones that you see at GNC, Vitamin Shop. But tell us a little bit about Strength Genesis and the origins.
Yeah, sure. Strength Genesis is my really food company. We call it a supplement company, but it's really food.
Okay.
And it's really because I've been in this industry for the last 30 years. So as an exercise scientist and a nutritionist, and anybody in this field long enough, you keep asking questions to yourself of, I wish I could put together a product that did X, Y, and Z. I wish I could get this electrolyte that doesn't have any sugar in it. I wish I could design my own protein that doesn't have any growth hormone in it. And you start going through this process, which eventually I did over the years. And you start now with technology being able to pull that off and do it in smaller and smaller batches. Where years ago, you couldn't do it unless you had huge budgets and you worked with a very big lab, big manufacturer. So it's more doable now than ever before. But eventually for me, it was, how can I get better products in my hands? So extremely in a selfish way, I try to only really make what I take. And I do have a health, fitness, nutrition consultation business in which I deal with adults that are over the age of 45 who are looking for premium brand products, who are looking for lifestyle, who are, yes, looking to drop fat and look better, but they want to be healthier. They want to live longer. So eventually I tried to put together a supplement company that offered all the best ingredients and in all the best packaging. So I try not to use any plastic whatsoever because it is toxic and harmful to the human body.
That was one thing I did notice when you get it and you look through your website, it's all glass and metal that you're using, which for people like us, we do very much appreciate, because the average people, they don't realize how much plastic they're getting through containers, through, I hate to say it, what they're heating up in their Tupperware. All that stuff adds up over time. And really, when it does come to supplements, because they're sitting in the container for a while on a shelf life, it is very important to use something like glass or metal.
And that's the big reason why we did it. So when you look at it from the outside, and if you didn't know our company, didn't know us, you would say, wow, Strength Genesis and Derek, you guys are huge environmentalists. Well, I wish that was just the case of it alone. It's not. I'm not saying the plastic is good for the environment. Certainly it's not great for the environment. We know that. But the thing is, though, Eric, people do not even consider what they put in their own body, as you just mentioned. And plastic in your body is extremely harmful. Yes, it's all a petroleum-based byproduct. It is made up of BPA and BPS. It'll increase estrogen levels, make it harder to drop body fat, can cause increased risk of cancer. So many bad problems with the plastic toxicity that we have inside our body. And it's really, for the most part, only now being looked at, which is too bad. So yes, of course, and being in this field, maybe you're the same as yourself, for decades, we bought protein in the big tubs, the big plastic tubs. In fact, you can't walk into a health food store without seeing all the tubs up and down the entire product line. We're drinking out of bottles. We're putting everything in, as you just mentioned, in all these microwavable plastic containers, and we're not giving it a second thought. So we wanted to put the two products together of the best product ingredients along with the sustainable packaging, causing the best of both worlds. And really, our slogan is better for the body and better for the planet.
That was really kind of got that when opening the package and you get the oil bottle and you can feel the glass. For me, this might just be my brain, but when you handle that glass product and you don't even use it yet, you can just kind of get a feel of, okay, this is sturdy. There is thought behind why they put this in glass, and this is a quality product. Most of the products that you even go in a supermarket that are in plastic, you pick up the plastic, the first thing this just doesn't seem quality, because from there, the consumer almost gets this feel of, okay, they went kind of cheap for plastic. This is inexpensive, kind of move on to the next one. At least that's how my brain looked at it. When I picked up that first bottle, wow, okay, you feel the weight of it, you do all that stuff. Then you go and use it, you're like, okay. And we know glass has way different even taste than something in plastic. At least to me, it does.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You could taste the difference as well. When we break it down and when we look at it, of course, the question is it worth the increased price of manufacturing it? So just to give you an example, we put protein in aluminum containers. So it almost looks like a big can of paint, really, other than the fact that it doesn't have a pry-off lid. It's got a screw lid at the top. So is it worth the cost? Our cost for getting one of those cans is $4.50. If it was in plastic, and I just got a quote this morning because companies send them to us, it's 7 cents.
Oh, wow.
So between 7 cents and $4.50, of course, the question in between that is it worth it? And it's very difficult to put that in any one phrase. Is it worth it? So my whole stick of doing this, the whole ethos of the company is it's worth it if you're not putting bad, harmful products in your body. So in terms of trying to eat better, in terms of our fitness training, in terms of our workouts, our lifestyle, optimizing sleep, why would we dump plastic in our body? It doesn't flow with everything else. So yes, I believe it's worth it. I believe food is worth it in general, because it is directly going to go into your body. There's other things I'm going to skimp on in my life, but food is not going to be one of them because it's the most impactful things that I'm ever going to really have inside of my body.
And you probably know more than anyone that most supplement companies will take that 7 cents because they're going to make more of a profit. And it's the companies that really go above and beyond to make that effort to put the best quality products on. Now, not even just ingredients, but like you said, what container is it in? How is this going to stay on someone's shelf? That's the important stuff. I would say a lot of people, now that they're getting educated on this, and as coaches less coach people on it, they're becoming more aware of, okay, I'm going to switch to glassware. I'm going to buy things in glass. So that becomes more important when people start to look at what supplements are they going to put on their shelves.
Yeah, we think so. And look, always trying to coach, always trying to educate. I get that it's only a small part of the market now that may have such an affiliation to wanting to do that. But our hope is, of course, over time that more of the market's going to move that way because more people are going to see it as important. So not getting political, but we do see a change in what could be happening at the FDA now. And for the most part, you could see the potential impact and benefit of that change when we're looking more carefully at food, at supplement, at additives, at ingredients. That does make a difference. It makes a difference for you individually. It can make a difference also to society as well. So yes, we believe in it wholeheartedly, or we wouldn't have ever taken on this initiative. And it once again, to me, it's worth the cost. It's worth the price of paying for it.
No, for sure. And at what point in your career, I know you said you started off as an exercise physiologist, scientist. What was your point of, okay, I need a better supplement? Because I think in our journey of kind of going through this health and nutrition world, I mean, we've tried all these different supplements. We've gone here, we've gone there, stuff we do. So what was that tipping point for you to be like, I'm going to create my own line? And then just walk us through, because a lot of it, when someone goes to your website, they're going to see a lot of oils. You're very oil based. I was just very curious hearing that you kind of stemmed it from your own nutrition. How come the oils?
It's a great story. So I initially started with the Australian macadamia nut oil because I was reading the book, The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss about a decade ago. Great book. And in reading it, Tim was talking about this product called the new olive oil. So the new olive oil looks good. And he's talking about Australian macadamia nut oil. Okay, I've never used it before, never heard of it before, but I kept reading more about what Tim was saying about it. And he's talking about how it being the new olive oil, because olive oil is good for us because it's very high in omega-3 and omega-9 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory. And this new olive oil, this macadamia nut oil, is even stronger in these omega-3s and 9s. Okay, fair enough. Now, the second part of it is, he said, but on top of it, olive oil is a good oil, but it's not a good cooking oil because olive oil has a smoke point of 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not an awesome cooking oil because oftentimes in cooking, you will exceed 350 degrees. Now, at that point, the good omega-3 and 9 fats are rendered down and the potency is broken because you've exceeded the smoke point. And what's possibly worse than that is the oil, once it flashes and becomes black, can become carcinogenic. So you never want to be consuming black oil. Where the smoke point for the macadamia nut oil was much higher. It wasn't 350 degrees. It was 515 degrees. Okay, so two really good benefits. But the last one, Eric, is the one that got me. He said, tastes butter. All right. Now, olive oil, I'm very familiar with the taste of it. In fact, both sides of my family, both grandparents on both sides are from Italy. So I grew up with everything olive oil. I grew up with everything Italian. So Italian olive oil is a little bitter tasting. It's not awesome when you're making your vegetables or your eggs or cooking meat. Whereas this is more buttery. So if you could remember years ago of how mom used to cook eggs or vegetables in butter, but we all got away from it because we were told it wasn't good for you, which isn't 100% true. If you cook in this macadamia nut oil, it tastes butter. So I tried it. I got a couple bottles, tried it, cooked with it with my family. We all loved it. And then I started ordering a couple more bottles and I started giving it to some of my best clients, kind of as a perk, just saying, hey, you've been a great client. Try this out. Tell me what you think. And what happened is they would come back and say, we love this. This is fantastic. Can you get me more? Now I started trying to buy more and trying to wholesale it back to them. So I'm ordering now up to maybe 24 bottles at a time, reselling them. A lot of personal trainers, nutritionists would do. And then, of course, the demand grew even higher. Now, this was going back 8 years ago. And then all of a sudden, Eric, I wasn't able to get it anymore. The supply was very, very low and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I picked up the phone one day and I called Queensland, Australia, which is the refinery of where this oil came from. And I spoke to some of the people in the office and they said, yes, the places you bought it from before are no longer going to carry it. We're looking for a U.S. distributor. Would you be willing to do it? And I said, no, not under any circumstance. I'm not a U.S. distributor. I'm not going to be distributing to grocery stores. Not what I do. I said, but would you sell me some for myself? Can I buy oil personally? And they said, yes, of course. I said, great. Well, they said, how much do you want? And I said, well, I've kind of been ordering a couple dozen bottles at a time, but what? Let's go big. Can you give me 100 bottles at a time? Eric, crickets on the other line. Nothing. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, sir, we only sell by the metric ton.
Oh,
I said, you sell by the metric ton? I said, so I have to order a metric. So I'm trying to do the calculations. It's like 2,500 bottles. Wow. I said, so if I buy these from you, you're going to send them to me in bottles? I said, no, we're going to send it to you in a big tub. And I said, so I have to order a big tub? They said, well, you can, but you need an import license. Do you have an import license? I said, no. They said, well, you need an import license. Then you'll sell me the tub. They said, yes, but you'll never clear customs. I said, what do I need? They said, well, you need a brokerage license. I said, oh, okay. Then I could buy it. They said, well, no, then you need a bottler. I said, then I can bottle it? And they said, well, yeah, but you need a label that has to be FDA compliant. I said, oh my goodness, there's like 97 steps here.
oof.
So that's where I started. That was 1 metric ton. And just to give you a little analogy, since that time, we probably have brought in 200 metric tons.
Oh, wow.
So that's what started me in the whole process. I'm going to blame it all on Tim Ferriss's book of the new olive oil, but it was so good, it tipped me into this business entirely.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
I think most people would have been, okay, with all these steps and licenses, okay, I'm out. That's impressive. And because you can't really find a lot of this stuff on US shelves. Not yours particularly, but just the Australian macadamia nut oil. You can't, if I go into my local supermarket, I'm going to have a hard time finding this.
Yeah, it's lesser common. Maybe a more common cousin of it would be avocado oil. In avocado oil also too, because a lot of people ask, they say, well, how's avocado oil for me? And the answer is avocado is a very good oil and it's a good cooking oil because it does hold up to high temperature too. The only drawback of avocado oil is you must avocados or you will not like oil. I happen to them, so I have no problem with it, but my wife hates avocados and she will not cook with it under any circumstances. Where the macadamia nut oil is more buttery tasting, it's less offensive. There is extremely few people that have ever tried it that don't love it because they like the taste of that nutty, buttery taste. So it's so palatable that a lot of people love it for a lot of different preparations. Coconut oil is another one. It can hold up to high temperature too, but there's many different kinds of coconut oil. Coconut oil has also a different taste and profile, but it's still a good high temperature oil. But the macadamia nut oil, Eric, I fell in love with it. I thought it was fantastic. And ever since that time, I've been trying to tell the whole world about it because it will soon be your favorite cooking oil.
Yeah. Because I brought it to work and we have a couple of people that are from Indonesia and they are versed in it more. So they know about kind of cooking with different oils and they were super excited. And we had everyone kind of try it. And there were some people that were, when they tasted it, they couldn't put their taste buds to what it was. They were expecting it to be more nutty. They were thinking like true macadamia nut, but it was a little bit different. It was cool to see people kind of get used to something different instead of the olive oils and then or my coworker from Indonesia, they're like, we put this on salad. We use this on everything. They have specific things that they use it for. And then we started trading recipes and talking about how to use all this stuff. And it is so cool to have one product of yours start a chain reaction of where I work. And all of a sudden you get different ideas and different culture aspects, because most of that stuff, you said, it's hard to find in this country.
Yeah. So when you were first taking it, did everybody try it in the office just on a spoon?
That's what we're doing. We were doing little spoons or little cups.
Isn't it amazing though that the taste is such that you can drink oil off of a spoon? That's how good it tastes.
Yeah. So for most people listening, like, if you do that with olive oil, which I'm sure you and I've done at some point, it is just harsh. You
Bitter.
try to cut it, but this is just different. It's smooth. It just, you're expecting one thing if you've done the avocado or any other oil, but you get another thing. And that's how we were doing it. And then we were having people put it on their food and they're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's outstanding that way. Also too, a lot of people will use it on their skin. I didn't know it was a thing, but if you go on TikTok now, you can see all these people doing these macadamia nut oil preparations on their skin. I'm not exactly a health and beauty influencer on TikTok, but nonetheless, you can see a lot of those videos. And lastly, have you ever heard of bulletproof coffee?
Oh yeah. From back in the day.
Yeah, so a lot of people still do bulletproof coffee, which is taking coffee and adding MCT oil to it, the medium chain triglyceride oil, which is another product that we sell. We sell a high octane organic MCT oil, which is fantastic because it helps get people into ketosis for burning fat, and it's also great for anti-dementia. However, I had a client that didn't want to use the MCT oil. Now, if you've ever used it before, you'll know why, because sometimes when you use too much MCT oil, it's like the best anti-constipation medicine of all time.
Oh, I did that once.
We all learn a lesson once,
Yep.
sometimes more than once. So if you do have any bowel movement problems, it's a great thing to take. You put it in your coffee and you won't have any issues. But this woman didn't want to try it, but she said she's been using the macadamia nut oil in her coffee.
Oh, wow.
And I said, really? I said, how does that taste? And she said, I love it. It's delicious. So of course, I kind of switched it. Instead of just putting the MCT oil in my coffee, I tried putting the macadamia nut oil in my coffee. Now, mind you, they don't do the same things.
Mhm.
So it's not the same oil. It's not the same effect. It's not the same bulletproof coffee. But oh my goodness, does it make the coffee taste delicious?
Does it taste buttery?
Buttery, where the MCT oil is really no taste to it at all. So MCT oil is very bland. It's not bitter olive oil, but it's not buttery macadamia nut oil. So it doesn't change anything. But the mac oil does. It gives it a nutty, buttery taste. And I fell in love with that too. So I go back and forth between the MCT oil on my first cup and the macadamia nut oil on my second cup.
It's sort of like remember the first bulletproof coffee where people were putting legit butter in it, and they were like buttery coffee.
Yep.
So there you go. You can use best of both worlds. I mean, because you still, with the macadamia, you still get the healthy fats. It's just different kind.
Yeah. So in case you're wondering, if you're thinking, well, how is the profile that of olive oil? They're nearly identical. In fact, when you break them down, they're very similar in the monounsaturated fats. In fact, the macadamia nut oil is a little bit stronger, a little bit higher, which is great. The omega-7 fats, the one that are anti-inflammatory to lower your C-reactive protein levels, the one that people are now talking about. Once again, they're very similar. Macadamia nut oil is just a little bit higher than olive oil. So once again, I am not bashing olive oil in any way, shape, or form. It's a great oil. In fact, our salad dressing, we have a keto salad dressing that is made from 100% extra virgin olive oil. So it's a great oil. It's just not a great cooking oil where the macadamia nut oil shines with cooking.
I think a lot of people get that big misconception when they hear someone like, oh, olive oil is not the great, but it's really about the cooking and the heat. Other than that, olive oil is good on cold, on salads and stuff like that. But most people, they do use oils to cook. And that's why when you go to your website, that's and kind of how I looked at it. One of your premier products that you guys market is these oils. And it is, I think it's a great thing because you don't see that at GNC. You don't see oils being marketed. You just see, okay, come get your protein, come get your pre-workout. But you're more saying, hey, here's how you start foundationally, because you're cooking food with good products first.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then also too, once again, taking a step back, My clientele is all 45 plus in terms of age.
Okay.
If you walk into a GNC, you walk into a vitamin shop, it just like screams 20-year-old person.
Yeah.
All the colors, all the names. You want to buy Ghost and you want to buy Amped Up and all everything. You take a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old, they don't want Amped Up. They don't want Ghost. They don't want any Mind Bender. They don't want anything. That turns them off. So putting together a supplement company, a food company that was kind on the body, kind in packaging, kind in marketing, really done for the sustainability of not just the product, but also too of your body, in just a more holistic way of going about this. You're taking very clean products that are better for you. You're cooking with them. You're putting them on salads. You're putting them in your coffee. There's obviously, I sell protein powder too, just a very clean protein powder, a New Zealand grass-fed whey protein, but things that are very gentle on the system, not mind eraser, not things like.
Well, yeah, because when you talk about especially like the pre-workouts and the craziness, if you look at yours is very simple. And some of these ones are on the market now, I mean, it's you and I probably agree, they're getting overboard with the caffeine and all this stuff. And one thing I liked about your pre-workout is it's got creatine in it, because I'm a big proponent of creatine, always taking it. But a lot of the pre-workouts that you see that we review kind of and look at, it's just really high dose caffeine, beta alanine, some other stuff, but you're missing the best parts, aka the creatine and some of that stuff, to really get the most benefit out of the supplement you're taking. What made you guys kind of decide, hey, we're going to put creatine in this?
I think my background is kind of the same as yours. I've believed in it so much for myself for so many years. However, I'm now trying to once again introduce it to an older population so you can see what the challenges, because initially creatine all started with bodybuilders and athletes.
Right.
But we've researched, in fact, creatine is the number one research supplement of all time. And all of the newer research is all based upon how does it help an aging population? How does it prevent against osteoporosis and muscle loss with age? How does it help with diabetes, insulin sensitivity? How does it help cognitive function and to slow down the progression of Alzheimer's? All of those are now what creatine is being studied to do, not just athletic performance or bodybuilding. So we wanted to put it into a pre-workout, and also we wanted to put it into a chew or a gummy, which is something we started doing about 3 months ago. It's a very new product. So when you get it, and I know I sent you a can, it looks like you're getting a little Red Bull.
It's
Right.
cool.
Yeah, it's like a can. It's got the pop off top, but we put in there chews or gummies that we wanted them to taste more like Starburst. So you feel like you're having a snack, but you're taking in your dose of creatine, which is helping your muscle tissue. It's helping your metabolism. It's helping your cognitive function. And it's something that I believe that every adult, even teenagers, should be taking on a regular basis.
I so agree. And with that product, same thing. I brought it into work, and because I like to kind of first spread the word, but see how what other people live it. Because I know what's in the product. I'm okay, I'm gonna this creatine chews. And that same one of my coworkers, she's older, and she was like, oh, what's this? I was like, oh, it's creatine. And they're a little leery. Most old people who don't know are not in our field, they're leery. Oh, what is that? Is that a bodybuilding supplement, or is that no, it's overall mainly for cognition. And she took one, and she came back the next, she's like, can I take a couple more? Those were good. And I was like, yeah, of course. And there's something is very simple that's just okay, I can take this intra workout or pre-workout or after, and it doesn't feel like you have to mix anything together or get this bland white powder or have it in this complex supplement. You can probably remember the days, remember Super Pump 250
Yeah.
and all that stuff, where it was very much based towards the lifting population. So I really, what you did, and especially with that in the pre-workout, of you're not putting this stuff in to make people feel 20-year-olds feel on pre-workout, high energy, caffeinated, through the roof, the tingles. Now, if you want to, that's whole different supplementation. You really don't need pre-workout. It's just a couple of vitamins, but you did it more of a level that people actually get the benefit from. And the chews were very, very popular because they're simple.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So once again, with an older population, most of them don't want a pre-workout that makes their head tingle. That's not high on their list of supplements. In fact, if their head tingles after taking a supplement, you can rest assured they will never take.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for a different experience. And I was smiling when you were saying that too, because yes, over the years, remember, we always had our mixture of our creatine powder that we'd put in our protein or put in our juice afterwards. In the sake of convenience, though, for anybody that works a regular job, not in a gym, not an athlete, not a bodybuilder, you're never going to do that. You're not going to carry a big powder white tub around. In fact, you'd be worried stiff that you'd get pulled over and they would think it's cocaine. So they would never consider such a thing, and it's very inconvenient to do so. So instead, yes, we wanted to put it into what would be more of a candy type of look to it and taste to it.
Looking for personalized workout plans? Whether you prefer to train at home or hit the gym, try a 14-day free trial of the Think Fitness Life mobile app. Get customized workouts, nutrition guidance, and coaching from a qualified professional who will be in your corner every step of the way. Visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com to start your free trial today. That's www.thinkfitnesslife.com.
So it was enjoyable, but you're still getting the benefits of the creatine from it. And it's not just about raw size or raw power. It's about all the cognition and not losing bone density and muscle tissue and everything that we talked about before. So you're getting all the benefits from it. Yeah. And anybody can take it now. So it's more convenient than ever before.
And it's great that you went into more of a chew. I know a lot of companies. Did you guys think about going into a canned liquid, or was it really just chews?
Well, to give you a little bit of background information on the company itself, when you take metal or glass containers and you fill them with liquids, it creates the most expensive shipping environments ever.
Oh, really?
So looking at our company, in fact, if I looked at it from an accountant, they would say to me, "What are you doing? You're sending liquids all around the country that are fragile. You're putting them in glass, so it's breakable, it's heavy, it's big, it's bulky. The shipping is a fortune." So with the creatine, we wanted to create a different type of environment, putting it in a chew also, which was much more economical from a shipping standpoint, as opposed to turning it into a drink or liquid. So knowing what I know now about shipping, and when I look at some of the beverage companies of how they ship beverages through the mail or through the USPS or through FedEx, the shipping is atrocious. It's terrifying how expensive it is, because it's heavy and it's bulky and it's fragile. So I wanted at least a couple products that weren't that. It wasn't liquid going through the mail. And that's one of the other big reasons why. So it was more convenient. It was more economical. And also too, it was kind of a snack and fun to take. So if people wanted it in between meals or wanted it as a treat, they could easily do it.
And that's what you love to hear. And I don't, did you study what happens with creatine in liquid over 24 hours?
It would break apart. So it's denature.
And when I got the chews, I was okay, because they had, I don't know, chews. Remember the creatine tabs or pills from way back in the day you could take, but there hasn't really been really a lot of creatine chews, which is something new that you guys are doing. But you see a lot of these companies putting creatine in these drinks on these shelves and gas stations. In 24 hours, their half-life, that creatine is now degrading and becoming more toxic to actually get rid of. So telling a lot of my clients, especially the athletes that we train, guys, you're wasting your money and you're actually potentially making your system work harder because you're getting no benefit. And they resonate when they hear that. They're like, "Are you serious?" But it's marketed so well. Yes, but some of these companies don't understand the science of how molecules do in liquid, especially creatine. So it's chews are going to last and not degrade.
Yeah, so you keep it either in raw form or you put it in a more stable type of a form. Your creatine will break down into liquid. And a lot of your athletes also probably don't realize the same thing with protein. It's great to walk into a gas station and get a pre-made, ready-to-drink protein off the shelf. You buy the Muscle Milk or something like that. Before that, remember, it was all Boost and Ensure and so on and so forth. But they have to use a very cheap, low-quality protein that does still denature, but it's so low quality, it doesn't denature as fast.
Okay.
So that's the little secret in the pre-mix ready-to-drink industry. You're using an extremely low quality barely FDA compliant protein so that it doesn't degrade more. Now, knowing that ahead of time, anybody that was really concerned with what they're putting in their body, and certainly any athlete, wouldn't want to do that. That's why those ready to drinks, although convenient, aren't necessarily good. You could get something a heck of a lot better.
Yeah. And that would make sense where you see the ingredients differ from the ready to drink ones versus the ones on the powdered tubs. That's going to be the big indicator. And that's something where I never really knew about that protein. I didn't know it was lesser grade. I just assumed it was a different process to be able to not go bad and stay in the shelf.
Well, they usually also then increase the shelf life by adding a lot of bad oil to it. Soybean oil is really the one that they will put into it. I work with an older population, and there's nothing against an older population. I'm always trying to fight for better nutrition for them. But if you think about a nursing home, that's when they're giving you the Ensure. That's when they're giving you the Boost. That's when they're giving you that quality of protein, because they could order it by the caseload. It could sit on their shelves there at the nursing home forever. It's very low cost. It's very economical. And people think they're drinking this wonderful protein solution, and it's not. It's low quality protein because of all the reasons why we just talked about.
Yeah. And that's why we sit down and have these conversations with people like yourself who see the backside of it. Because most people, when they ask, okay, I need more protein in my diet, and this is the older population, should I just drink these generic things? It's no, put in the effort, do some research, but here, try to get onto some solid supplements if they're not willing to put the effort in to eat the food. Because I think supplements have a place, because a lot of older populations, they might not want to eat steak and a lot of chicken, but they still need to get the quality nutrients coming in.
Oh, no doubt. In fact, you can see all day long the reason to take a supplement. And I think that's great. You're not just going to eat the whole food all the time, because maybe your lifestyle doesn't give you the time to be able to afford to do that. You're on the run, you're running around, especially if you're athletic, you're in between things. Or if you're not, if you're a little bit older, you're just busy at work and you're not running out for real food all the time. I get that. But if you're going to take the time to take a supplement, and if it's important to you, and that's the reason why you're taking it in the first place, you should take what's good for you. Don't take one that's bad for you. Take what's going to benefit you, because that's why you're taking it in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And that's where one I've always found funny when talking to maybe not some clients, but just some of my friends. And they ask me, okay, what do you recommend for supplements and all this? And I'll give them stuff to go get, whether it's, and they're, was this stuff safe to take? And I'll step back for a second and say, well, you're asking me if this supplement, or there's nothing crazy, it might be creatine, is safe to take, but yet they're eating processed food and dyes and all this stuff. And let's try to rephrase how our brains are. But that's the world we're kind of up against, especially you in the supplement industry. It's almost like people think, oh, pick the processed foods, but we got to be very cautious with these supplements because we don't know what's in them. And in fairness, sometimes we don't.
It's funny. I've used that term before too. Yeah. You have a client that is maybe eating crackers and pretzels and Doritos and Fritos, getting fast food, but they're scared to death of creatine. I hear you. I 1000% understand what you're saying, and it's terrifying. It really is. It just shows you where we've gone in terms of our society. We've gone in that direction of processed foods were always kind of deemed safe for us, and they're not. It's frightening what's in these foods. But learning about different things, learning about creatine, learning about, we're talking about the fats and the cooking oils, how important those are. When you really break it down and learn about it, I believe they should teach this stuff in school because it's so necessary. And unfortunately, it's being skipped, and we can't leave it just to the healthcare professions and our primary care physicians to cover, because they're not. So what other mouthpiece are there other than health and fitness coaches, nutritionists, people in the industry, so on and so forth? We're trying, we're starting, we're not there yet, but we have to keep the message going.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. That's why we love to do what we do on this podcast, because people can get educated. They don't necessarily have to go to a course. They don't have to go. This is just on the airwaves so that people can get educated and maybe learn something, whether it's one or two new things, but to help better themselves and make those decisions and not have to get to the point where they're in dire need of a doctor for some help. But you said they're still not going to get the best or that information that we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes. That's the biggest thing for people. And assuming that your company is going to grow more, you're probably going to put more of the stuff you out there on the product line to really enhance, especially, yeah, we know young kids, they're going to do their ghost and all that stuff. But the older population, the people who look for quality, me or older, that need to get this stuff in and will benefit more from it.
That's our hope. Our hope is to keep expanding the product line and keep pushing the messages out there as much as possible. I believe that we're still learning more and more about ingredients. If you've ever gone to some of these ingredient shows, which if you haven't before, being in the industry that you're in, I would recommend some of them to go to. Supply Show East and West is fantastic. You see ingredients from all around the world that you may not even be aware of. And it's a great learning experience because I think combining some of these things that are now available, even to smaller companies, you start getting ideas. You start seeing how you can put different things together and how beneficial it can be. So it starts getting really fun to do that. And I always get a kick out of it. That's kind of how I got onto the whole grass-fed New Zealand protein. I wanted a grass-fed protein because I knew it was higher in protein, higher in bioavailability, and higher in omega-3 fats. However, when I started looking at it, and I didn't know this at first, even myself, even being a master's degree in nutrition, I didn't know grass-fed means something different in every country. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So in order to have the label of grass-fed, and the reason why we use New Zealand is the cow must be grass-fed 100% of the time. So New Zealand has the highest standards in the world.
Oh, wow.
Of grass-fed. Now, I'm going to give you a comparison. The next closest one is Australia at 80%. Not bad. Canada, 20%. The US, 4% of the time.
Not good stats.
So grass-fed protein in the US means they have to hit a standard of at least 4% of the feeding time. 4%. 4%. Pretty low. Pretty low. So you start looking at that, start learning about that, start seeing the protein assimilation rates, start seeing the iron levels, the B vitamins, and it's easy to make the decision. Okay, New Zealand is the way to go. Now it's the other side of the world. It's so on and so forth. There's a lot of logistics. It's expensive, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, the rationale behind putting things together, once again, products that are better for the body, better for the planet, they're available now. So we're on that cutting edge of things now becoming more and more available. We're excited to be part of that trend at Strength Genesis, and that's why we're putting up products like that.
That's awesome. And you do see a lot of products coming from New Zealand. And that was when I would look at products, I'd always at first get a little leery because you're okay, this is coming from around the world. But now knowing that these standards are a lot higher, you can see why a lot of these companies, and especially yours, you're getting outsourced from farms in New Zealand where it's more just quality. Same thing with the Australian nut oil. It's just more quality because of the regulations. And hopefully, don't know if it's going to happen. One day, maybe the US can get to that standard of something, because you and I both know that the standard in the US is a lot lower than even other countries, just from a whole food standpoint. And it is unfortunate. It does hurt kind of us as a whole health form. And it hurts our kind of mindset to think, do people really care about health?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. I remember going through the same thing. If it wasn't made in the US, you thought maybe it's not as safe.
Yeah.
And now we're at a place in which if it's made in the US, you feel opposite. It feels better if it's from a different country for all the reasons that we just mentioned. So yes, it has turned around quite a bit. And there are products, but once again, I think it's a double-edged sword. If you went back in time, even 15, 20 years ago, which wasn't that long ago, it was unbelievably difficult to get these products. And most of the time we never heard of them.
Correct.
Because the internet, because of transportation, because of everything else. So now they're more available than ever before. I do feel as though in the US, I don't want to use the term rock bottom, but it feels like we're on the way up. At least now it's starting to feel different. It's starting to feel better. You could see some momentum going towards food. I think the food manufacturers in this country now are really redesigning their product line, and they have to. They're quickly trying to redesign, and they should be. They should have been doing it all along. Make better products that are going to pass, and I think it's going to really help. I do. I'm very hopeful and optimistic now, and I think it's going to be a great thing.
On talking on the lines of the US, I know a lot, you mentioned earlier the FDA. A lot of supplements aren't FDA regulated, or it says they're not the standards, whatever it is. Can you give us some insight of why that is? Or does the FDA not want to claim that some of this stuff is good?
It's based upon sales volume. So it depends on
Ah,
how much sales you do for a company in any given year. Below $500,000 of total sales, you're pretty much off the radar. Threshold is about $5 million a year. Once you start exceeding that per year as a company, it opens up more and more things that you have to be compliant with. So when they do put that disclaimer on the back, may not be evaluated by the FDA, it's for that reason.
ah. See, it's another thing when you're younger and your parent. I remember my parents. Oh, well, why are you taking this supplement? It's not even cleared by the FDA, and you start thinking in your head like, is this good? But then you learn that fact there, and that really has nothing to do with what's in the product. It's just more about sales and numbers of the product.
Yeah, it's just thresholds. It's just sales
Yeah.
standards. Also, too, as a FDA compliant labeler, we have to put in the back, please consult your physician before taking any product. Now, I don't know how many physicians, but most of them have no idea about supplements at all. And mind you, I'm not knocking them. They were never trained for it. That wasn't part of medical school. There's no expectation there. They're not compensated to look at supplements. It's not their gig. I understand that. But we have to put that in there just because it's a liability. It's a legal statement that we have to put in there. It has nothing to do whatsoever with nutrition, with ingredients, with anything other than a legal standard.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because a lot of the where I work, it's connected to a hospital, so we work in conjunction with doctors, and a lot of the athletes who've seen a doctor, and they ask them about, especially creatine. They're like, well, the doctor's like, and they go by the old research, the old research, and then I'll give them the new one and tell them all the stuff we talked about, and they're like, oh, you can take them. I take it every day. Here are the chews. I'll show them the chews. I can't give them to them, but I'm like, check them out, and they're like, oh, okay, so it's not really bad. I'm like, no. But that gets into that kind of like, it's just building that education base, and that's really what we want to do, and get these lesser known companies out that aren't these big, your standard supplement companies, ghosts that are just generic. You're probably going to get crap in it, a lot of dyes and synthetic stuff and artificial. These smaller nutritional supplement companies pushing high quality stuff.
That's always been our hope. If anybody asks, no, we're not owned by private equity. It's been my passion. I'm the founder of the company. I started the whole thing. A lot of these bigger companies are run just by private equity companies.
Okay.
Do I think they're aware of what's in their ingredient list? Probably not. Most of them are not. It's a numbers game. It may have started from a fact of a founder really trying to do something, but then that has left like 4 generations or sales ago, and pretty much now just run by corporate America for a
Mhm.
profit. And once again, if you're the average consumer and you're walking into a GNC, you wouldn't know that. And unfortunately, the only person there to ask is some 19-year-old kid behind the counter. And it's unfair to ask him or her the question because they probably don't know either. They'll just probably rattle off what they take,
Yep.
and it doesn't help. So that's kind of the whole premise of what we're trying to create here.
And you have a fun, I'm sure, kind of job position where, like you said earlier, you got kind of look at different ingredients and kind of be a mad scientist when it comes to supplements to see how to make some of these kind of super supplements and put them together. Now, obviously, I'm sure they all don't work in conjunction with each other. Ideally, that'd be the best of both worlds. But then it's how do we get this into a product and get it into marketing? That sounds like a fun part. As when you look at all these supplements, and even sometimes in my life, like you open up one of my cabinets, there's multiple different individual vitamins, individual supplements. You're like, man, I just wish sometimes there was just one I could take, but sometimes it's not realistic.
The most fun we have, Eric, is when we're bringing in samples. So we all get excited in the office and we sit down and we do a rating system. We do a blind rating system where we all have to rate it based on certain things. But whenever we're trying something out, we get such a kick out of it because whether it's a new pre-workout or a protein, in fact, the last one we did was a different type of protein powder, and we have to try to describe what we're tasting and so on and so forth. But we get very excited in the process of doing so because it's a lot of fun, especially, I guess, given the fact of what we do for a living, it's about the most fun that we have. on a daily basis is trying the different flavors and the different supplements.
That's cool. That's awesome. And for your company, Strength Genesis, just curious, how did you come up with the name? How did that name kind of come about? The origins of it?
Well, I knew it had to have something to do with strength. Being in the strength conditioning field my whole life, I wanted it to be strength. But I thought about it and I said, what if it was the beginning of strength? What if it was the start of strength? So then it became Strength Origin. However, that name was used.
Oh,
I
interesting.
use Strength Origin. Now I have a salad dressing. I named my salad dressing Origin. So it's Origin Keto Salad Dressing. That's the one I was telling you about that was made from the extra olive oil. So Origin wasn't available. So of course, doing a Google search, trying to find words that mean similar to that of Origin. It wasn't that scientific. I came up with a Google search and I came up with Genesis. Now, I didn't necessarily mean it to be Old Testament, just Genesis, but it still was the beginning, the birthplace, the start of strength. So that's why it's Strength Genesis.
No, when they first sent the email over, I'm like, Strength Genesis. It honestly, to me, it sounded like a gym. It sounded like something that would be a gym. And I'm like, okay, let's check it out. And then it was a supplement company. I'm like, oh, wow. Never heard of this before. So really cool of what you're doing over there. And where are you guys located?
I'm calling you now from outside of Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And as everybody knows, Buffalo is the fitness capital of the world. It is not. No one has ever said that. Buffalo, New York is where we are located. We're in a little town outside of Buffalo called East Amherst, New York. And if Buffalo, a couple things. Number one, we can get blizzards for the chicken wing. And number three, the Buffalo Bills had a decent year this year. That's pretty much it though.
Yeah, I got some family out in Buffalo, and some of my coworkers are from that area, went to school there, and they say that's kind of that's it. They love their sports out there, and the winters are rough.
It's a long and rough.
So we coming up on the hour here. We really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you, and especially where can people find your products?
StrengthGenesis.com. StrengthGenesis.com. If you go there, you'll see the website. And Eric, as you can tell on the website too, we put a lot of information on there too. It's not just about products and sales and so on and so forth. Yes, all the products are there, but we give a lot of stories, a lot of research, a lot of articles, a lot of reasons why certain things are put in the ingredient list. It's once again to give education, to give entertainment, and also to inform the persons that what you're taking in is better for you. And these are the reasons why you should be taking it. So StrengthGenesis.com. All of our social handles are there as well. All of the Instagrams, Facebooks, LinkedIn's, email addresses, you'll find everything there. Should you have any questions, we are here to answer all of your questions and make sure you're getting the information for what you need.
Awesome. Well, anything else before we wrap up here? I know you probably have a busy rest of the day, and on the hours are usually how it runs in our world.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of making sure that what you're putting in your body is as clean as possible, just to make sure you're getting the performance and the results out of it as much as possible. So my reminder to everybody, of course, is to make sure you're doing your exercise on a regular basis, 3 or more times per week, prioritizing strength training. When it comes to nutrition, always try to eat high quality. If it comes in a can, a bag, or a box, generally speaking, it's less quality, low quality. Eat whole foods. When you have supplements, same philosophy. Make sure your ingredients are clean. It's better for you, better for your body, better for the planet. And if you do so, you're going to reap the benefits, not just now, but forever.
Awesome. Well, that wraps us up. We appreciate you coming on and taking your time today.
If you're ready to make steps towards improving your health or increasing your performance, book a free 30-minute call today by visiting thinkfitnesslife.com.